The Kenya Wildlife Service, I would say, was a perfect partner at a perfect time for Stimson. We were just starting to branch out into more untraditional security threats. We were looking at reframing the narrative around what constitutes global and national security threats and what types of new partners, new resources we needed to sort of stimulate creativity and innovation in the space. So we came to the Rhino Sanctuary. There are some figures. I think we've all heard a lot today about some of the devastation being wreaked on the biodiversity in the region. This is a 100 square kilometer park. And so we decided, in partnership with the KWS, to start a pilot project here. For us, coming from the security background, what we saw was not too far from a critical infrastructure protection project. Watering holes, we have a couple of outposts, we have borders, we have choke points or vulnerabilities, and we have a certain number of resources, rangers, radios, etc. So this is the angle with which we approach the problem. What's being protected? It's a rhino sanctuary, but you have every kind of flora and fauna walking through. As I said, it's connected to the much greater Savo West Park, and so there's need for the rangers to be protecting a variety of species. When we arrived, how is it being protected? You have gates, fences, as you can see on the bottom, some dogs. Primary, though, was the satellite radio that was on an open channel. This is my favorite. Every morning they drive around the perimeter and they drag a tire to clear the outside path, and they go around the next day to check for footprints. So I use this picture, and especially it's interesting to be at a technology conference to say, when we're talking about the next step, and Chris talking about phased technology is so key, this is the level of intruder detection that we are starting with. So we need to be very careful when we think about what is the next phased approach, what comes after the tire. So this was the solution that we came up with. We call it C3S because when you have technology, you need some fancy acronym to go with it. A command control communication system. And I should say now, because I'll forget, that I brought one. So afterwards, please come find me. We can play around on it. But at inception, the idea was that we really just needed a means for the commanders to communicate with their men out in the field. And we needed this to be confidential. And we needed it to be sustainable. Sustainable is really important. We're talking about long-term incentives and buy-in from the rangers all the way up to the policymakers to continue self-financing. Stimson's not going to be in the Rhino Sanctuary beyond maybe 5-10 years. Would be amazing, but we need to create something that can long outlast us. And then also is specific to the operating environment. This operating environment, the main challenge was that we had low to no connectivity in a majority of the sanctuary. Common mistakes, and Chris, I will just zoom right through this because I think you covered a lot of it. Too advanced, too soon. I like to call this the drop a drone on it strategy. And you know, we've all been there. New technology is really exciting. It's super exciting to think about the capacity and what it can do and how it can be a complete game changer on the ground, but you're forgetting the human element. And so a lot of technology dumps or test trials that also maybe do not adequately think through sustainability of financing. So there's a lot of excitement and innovation going on, but we're not actually seeing a lot of successful projects. And again, the solution focused on the provider. Someone will come in and say, I have the technology for this park, rather than going into the park and saying, what do you need? So this is our approach, and it's working. We walked the walk. Faye, this should look familiar. So we went into the field. There are a couple elements I'd like to point to here. We designed the project with the rangers. So, like on any smartphone application, you have icons. But we wanted the rangers to draw the icons. You know, well, maybe there are universal symbols for dead animal. Why would I draw it when they can use something that makes sense to them? And I'll show that if you come over afterwards. Some of them were interesting to us. You know, it's the dead animal is a picture of a sort of a horse-looking thing with an X over the stomach. You know, but the point is that they're creating their own technology and we are enabling it. And developed with local experts. We worked with a local ICT firm called iHub based out of Nairobi. And so they were integral in developing and designing the software. This is twofold. One, for us, so that we would have IT experts relatively nearby, quick to get on site, and also then we can contribute to the capacity, the capacity of the tech sector in Kenya and East Africa more broadly. Talk the talk. I apologize if this is loud. There's nothing hooked up. It's pretty, but it's actually quite loud. So this was an 18-month process. So we really took our time developing the technology, and we brought it to the field on multiple occasions. We got their feedback, things that were really not intuitive to us. For example, that there needed to be a report that said, success, you have entered something into your phone. We have an innate trust in technology here in these really well-connected parts of the world that just don't exist in places with low connectivity. So even though we had trust and we had faith in the system, they said, no, we actually really need something to pop up every time we entered to let us know it's gone through. So these things were integral in terms of creating their buy-in, letting them feel like they're part of they were part of the process, an integral part of the process, and then also ensuring that we had elements built into the technology that would ensure its use. My favorite example is that we allowed for a supplies request. So you're out in the field for a week, you run out of smokes. You can actually put that into your phone, back to headquarters. These little things here that say, okay, and I think as Will might speak to, there is some delicacy to the idea of wildlife conservation perhaps being the idea, a concept that is coming from the Western world or is an outside concept or doesn't benefit the people on the ground. And so by integrating these types of elements into technology, you can also help fight against that narrative. And then lastly here, our new phrase is, everybody's innovating, nobody is integrating. So we have a lot of new technology, but we don't have a lot of resources being put towards integrating that technology into existing systems. That can mean literally integrating the technologies, sensor fusion, or just making sure that they're working together, but also the integration into human processes, thinking through how this will change maybe how they deploy their rangers or how often or things like that, and walking through the habit changes that need to take place with new technology is key to ensuring its survival and sustainability. Don't go it alone. We had a dozen private and public sector partners. This is just a handful of some of our biggest ones. We had Airtel, the biggest telecommunications firm in East Africa, working with us, giving us discounts on some of our packages, and Colmar and Zoo in Sweden was allowing us to test this. Again, iHub there is the ICT firm. These partners are crucial also in creating an incentive for people to sustain the project long after we are gone. This is our solution. I've already kind of talked about this. The main point of this slide here is to say that we did not come in to design a wildlife protection technology. This is a technology that can be used for any sort of protection or enforcement system. It can be deployed in many different environments. The back end itself is extraordinarily replicable and scalable, and the front end is customized, highly customized to suit your needs. So this one app in this example is providing both an animal conservation service, border security, intruder detection, etc. But in many other examples or in many other environments can provide a variety of services. Also, you'll see here, it's a little bit hard to see with the angling, but we created something that is designed to be interoperable with future technologies so that it can act as a base platform to incorporate, say, a thermal surveillance or a long-range radar in the future. This is what it looks like here out in the field. You can see that there is the C3S, the smartphone application on the left, and the dashboard on the right that the commander has access to, all of the reporting data coming in from his rangers. So why does this matter? Again, I don't think this really has to be stated, but the problem isn't going away. The latest UN Environmental Program report came out to say that a modest estimate is that environmental crime is increasing between 5 to 7% annually, 2 to 3 times the global economy. I believe the upper end of some industries, I want to say illegal logging, was 28% annual increase. These are huge numbers. And sustainable bottom-up technology is key to a long-term solution. We all know that, that's why we're here. But these solutions really do need policy support. I think Will probably has experienced this the best, that you do need some top-level policy incentives to come down to combat against corruption and other sort of disincentives to engage in this program. We can't just implement the technology and hope that the rest of it will follow. So just wanted to highlight one act that we're pretty excited about. Stimson is sort of working at all ends of the spectrum. We have our technology, our bottom-up capacity building, all the way up through writing legislation and working with policymakers. So we were working closely with Coons and Flake to help I believe this is the Eliminate, Neutralize, and Disrupt is the end acronym Wildlife Trafficking Act. It's currently in the Senate, so we're all anxiously waiting for this to come through, but a couple of important notes about this and any future policy that should come out about combating wildlife crime is that it really does, and Jessica spoke to this at the UN level, putting wildlife trafficking on par with other transnational organized crimes to free up resources and also bring actors and some of our lessons learned from the greater transnational organized crime and law enforcement communities to this issue. Second, it provides a path to holistically address the interconnected challenges that stem from wildlife crime. It just acknowledges that there are some economic development and social welfare arguments being made on both sides. It's not simply a matter of communities being decimated by poaching. There are poachers embedded within these communities, and these challenges are much more complex than simply catch the bad guys and everyone's going to be happy. And then lastly, that capacity building and smart technology is critical. So what's next? This is what's next for Stimson. I really just touched on a small piece of what we do on these issues. We are actively looking to scale and replicate these solutions. I hope what I communicated today is that when I say technology solution, that's equal parts product and process. So for us, the actual time spent in the field, sitting with rangers or sitting with whoever and making sure that that technology is integrated into their processes is equally, if not more important than the new technology you're bringing to them. And so we hope to plug into many other solutions or many other opportunities to spread what we've done in the Anguilla Rhino Sanctuary. And then we are launching this fall the Natural Security Forum. And the idea here is that we are going to try to build a bridge between the environmental and the defense and security communities. And again, this should look both like policy, high level, working with generals and admirals to bring their voices to the conversation, as well as on the ground programmatic things. And I'm happy to speak to anyone about this afterwards, and I wish I had time right now, but we're building out a technology website for the Our Oceans Conference in September on illegal fishing technology, and I'll probably come find some of you afterwards about that, as well as mining, illegal mining, and blogging. So I hope I didn't go through that too fast. We have a lot going on, and please come find me if you would like to play with the phone. Thank you so much.